Welcome back to Montana this morning. The time is 6:44 on this Wednesday morning as we work our way through the week. 63 degrees to get our day started. Sounds like things are going to change quite a bit weather-wise. I'll have the details on that a few minutes from now with his forecast. But for now, let's go ahead and get to news. Our top story this morning, at least one person is dead after a fatal crash this morning in Rosebud County. The accident happened in the Lame Deer city limits just before 2 o'clock this morning. According to Highway Patrol, a single vehicle rolled on Highway 4 and 4th Street. So far, no other details on the crash have been released. In education news, today, Lockwood freshmen and sophomores will kick off a brand new school year in a brand new building. In fact, construction crews were putting the finishing touches on the new high school as late as yesterday. The district is going with mostly online learning. Students will be put in 3 groups of 75 and only physically be in the building once a week. Teachers will record online lessons on Mondays, and Fridays will be set aside for any kids who need some extra help.
In the spring, when we did some of our grading, we were able to make some notations of kids that we are concerned about that would maybe need a little extra help and some intervention to get them back up to full grade level. And so we know who those kids are, and we'll be addressing their needs as we start off the school year.
Of the 230 Lockwood High School students, only 15 of them opted to do online-only learning this year. Shepherd schools will be back open today after closing down when a student tested positive for COVID-19. Now the district says they will change their policy surrounding positive tests. In a letter to parents, Shepherd Superintendent Drea O'Donnell said shutting down every time a case is found just isn't realistic. Instead, Shepherd schools will enhance the daily cleaning operations. O'Donnell said families need the reliability of knowing school will be open. Continuing our coverage, Lucas Warner, the Flathead County baby who was missing for more than 3 days, has been found safe. The 6-month-old was taken by his non-custodial father, Andrew Warner, and his father's girlfriend, Haley Emerson, who was babysitting Lucas the day he was taken. Officers found them camping out near Weed Lake in western Montana. It's likely Warner will not be charged with any crimes for taking his son. The Flathead County Sheriff says there was no court order that would have prevented him from having contact with Lucas. Child Protective Services took custody of the baby and will continue to investigate. In court news, the man who pled guilty to negligent homicide in the death of former MSUB sports doctor Eugene Buzz Walton will spend less time behind bars. Greg Trude was sentenced to 20 years with all but 3.5 years suspended. But a Montana Supreme Court review board called that sentence clearly excessive. They reduced it to 15 years with all but 1 year suspended. He will also be required to complete 500 hours of community service. Trude accidentally shot Walton while pulling a rifle out of his vehicle after a hunting trip back in 2018. He's now set to be released from prison on October 14th. A Montana pilot and former MSU basketball player died when the helicopter he was flying crashed while fighting a wildfire in Oregon. Bozeman resident Tom Duffy was also a leader in the Seventh-day Adventist Church of Montana. The church released a statement calling the loss heartbreaking. The accident happened earlier this week. Duffy was doing bucket drops from the helicopter when it crashed. He was the only one in the helicopter at the time. No other details about the accident have been released. In election news, the United States Supreme Court will not take up the Montana Green Party case, likely putting an end to their hopes of getting candidates on the 2020 ballot. Last week, the Montana Supreme Court ruled the Green Party was ineligible because Republicans were secretly behind some signature collecting efforts to qualify them. The SCOTUS decision could impact the U.S. Senate race between Republican incumbent Senator Steve Daines and Democrat Governor Steve Bullock. While it's becoming more clear, most Montanans will vote by mail for November 3rd's election. 7 of the 8 largest counties in the state have already made the decision to do away with in-person voting this year, with Flathead County being the only exception. Overall, 40 Montana counties will hold mail-only elections, and residents there can expect their ballots the second week of October. The deadline for counties to make a decision is Friday, September 4th. On the national front, First Lady Melania Trump was center stage on the second night of the Republican National Convention, speaking from the White House's newly remodeled Rose Garden. Mrs. Trump described the president as a non-traditional politician who demands action and gets results. Tuesday's event featured President Trump attending a naturalization ceremony for a group of new citizens. The speakers included Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and the president's son Eric and daughter Tiffany. And the Billings woman who spoke at the convention wanted people to know her faith helped guide her through tough times during the pandemic. Tanya Weinreis, the owner of Mountain Mud Espresso, says she's received plenty of feedback since she made her speech.
I think my voicemail filled up in less than 3 minutes, and then probably a couple hundred emails, messages, positive and negative. We have people from all over the country wanting to buy coffee, and then we have people that are saying things that I can't repeat.
And now we turn to the latest on local COVID-19 cases. Montana health officials reported 5 new coronavirus-related deaths in Yellowstone County yesterday. However, local leaders say the cases were recorded in the last month and just now reported in the state's data. Some of these deaths are linked back to Yellowstone County's senior living facility, Canyon Creek Memory Care. Meanwhile, the CDC is changing its guidelines on who should be tested for COVID-19. The agency is no longer recommending asymptomatic people who have been exposed to COVID get a test. Previously, the CDC said people in this category should be checked because of asymptomatic spread of the virus. The agency did not explain the change, and it has many doctors confused. Some states will have their own rules that recommend people who have been exposed be tested. Also making headlines this morning, police in Kenosha, Wisconsin confirmed several people have been shot during night 3 of protests. Police say they are looking for at least one gunman. CBS's Laura Podesta reports on the chaos and the condition of Jacob Blake, the man shot over the weekend by Kenosha police.
Multiple people were injured in a shooting, according to police, as the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin filled with protesters again overnight. Social media lit up with graphic videos of at least one man opening fire.
Shooting took male white with a rifle. He was running southbound, turned around and fired into the crowd.
Earlier in the evening, demonstrators faced off with police and National Guard troops over the shooting of Jacob Blake. The 29-year-old shot Sunday by Kenosha police is currently paralyzed from the waist down and remains hospitalized, according to his father.
They shot my son 7 times. 7 times. Like he didn't matter.
Governor Tony Evers has issued a state of emergency in Wisconsin due to the ongoing violence. Over the last few days, hundreds of thousands of dollars of property has been damaged as protesters set fire to car lots and smashed storefronts.
If Jacob knew what was going on as far as that goes, the violence and the destruction, he would be very unpleased.
The legal team representing Blake, led by National Civil Rights Attorney Ben Crump, says it plans to file a civil lawsuit against the Kenosha Police Department. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Blake's attorneys say one of the bullets severed the 29-year-old's spinal cord. Blake also has bullet holes in his stomach and liver, shattered vertebrae, and kidney damage. Nearly all of his colon and small intestines had to be removed. The IRS just announced it will send out 50,000 stimulus checks next month. The catch-up economic impact payment relates to a mistake the IRS made in processing the original stimulus payments. In a rush to send out stimulus checks, the Internal Revenue Service accidentally withheld money from some people who paid their child support. Anyone who was behind on child support payments were not given any money from the government. If you were one of the people owed these checks, the status of their delivery can be found on the IRS website. And more than 500,000 people in Texas and Louisiana have been ordered to evacuate their homes ahead of Hurricane Laura's arrival. It has been gaining strength as it churns in the Gulf of Mexico and is expected to intensify to at least a Category 3 storm. Laura is on track to make landfall tonight or early Thursday morning. And we've been keeping an eye on that, but does all look fairly calm here?
For the time being, we've really got some break in the weather now, but the chance of a shower or thunderstorm starts to increase as we start getting into the afternoons. Today, tomorrow in particular, some of those could be a little stronger storms as well. We're looking at 50s to low 60s in central and western Montana, but 60s, even 70 right now in Glendive. The storm system that moved through last night is moving off here into the western Dakotas, but yesterday we had the concerns with smoke. That's going to remain today with air quality warnings still into effect for a good portion of Montana, especially the southern half of Montana. But we also had that storm system last night create some very strong winds around Great Falls, down towards Shawmut, between Billings and Harleton. 77 miles an hour recorded. Jordan up around the Fort Peck region, 69 miles an hour, and even the Billings airport, a 58-mile-per-hour wind gust last evening. So this weather system exiting, the next one will start to move in, and the smoke will stick around at least for today and tomorrow before some of these less smoky conditions start to move in from the north. So here comes the wave for today. This is going to create areas of showers or thunderstorms starting in around the Butte-Bozeman area and then rippling off the mountains, pushing out towards Billings. Some of these storms could produce especially strong winds, much as we saw yesterday in the green shaded areas in particular from around Lewistown southward through northern Wyoming. That pushes through the region, followed immediately by another wave that moves in for tomorrow. Temperatures will downshift a little bit tomorrow. We'll go from 80s, low 90s today to mainly the 80s tomorrow. But particularly once we get from Billings towards the east, the possibility of some of these storms creating strong winds tomorrow, plus it's the right environment for hail to develop as well. There could be some pockets of a little heavier rain, and they're going to be very hit and miss storms, but definitely something we need a heads up for. Temperatures pushed back into the lower 80s on Friday. Friday actually looks like a pretty nice day. Sunshine. If we get more of a northerly flow, it clears out some of the smoke. Temperatures are in the upper 70s to mid 80s. Close to average for this time of the year and pretty pleasant, but it does get very warm on Saturday. Temperatures today mainly into the 80s for central and western Montana, 80s to low 90s in the eastern plains. Again, the gray shaded area shows where we have air quality issues thanks to the wildfire smoke. And then isolated showers and thunderstorms start to push across southern Montana, which could include the Billings area. That's all in the green shaded region for later in the afternoon. Certainly northern Wyoming, you're going to be included in that as well. So for eastern Montana, we're looking at temperatures mainly in the 80s from Billings towards the mountain foothills, 80s to low 90s in the eastern plains with those air quality concerns early, and then the threat of thunderstorms pushing across the area. Even overnight. Now, with this blue shaded area shows where the blue arrows show where we have the potential for winds, but tomorrow could even become a little more active early in the day. So we start off in the 50s to 60s. Notice here we are, this is 5 a.m. and the possibility of some storms rippling off the mountains continues to develop. Tomorrow mainly the 80s for the highs with the threat of showers or thunderstorms. Stronger storms possible, especially in southeastern Montana. The extended outlook, temperatures near 90 today, closer to 80 by the end of the day on Friday. Chance of showers or thunderstorms for a couple of days, and after the spike in the temperatures on Saturday, temperatures tumble. Let's see what's on CBS This Morning.
Coming up, Hurricane Laura is building strength as it heads to the Gulf Coast. 500,000 people are evacuating. Plus, how to bus kids to and from school safely in the age of coronavirus. Coming up on CBS This Morning.
Well, today we're celebrating Women's Equality Day, so we can't forget Susan B. Anthony, who spent most of her life working to get women the right to vote, and her legacy lives on.
That's for sure.
All right, well, have a great day, and we will see you back here tomorrow.